What do you think is kind of the biggest ask that you're seeing across frontier markets, and what are the gaps that remain?
Money. But realistically, no.
Go on.
No. Honestly, when we're talking to creatives across the different parts of the continent, it really depends on which market we're talking about. If we're talking to the Nigerian market versus the Kenyan market, if we're talking to the Kenyan market versus the Ugandan market, each country is in a different stage of development within their entire ecosystem. So sometimes we lump in all of Africa. And yes, I think there's 5 big kind of requests or needs that each market needs to address, but at different stages and different levels. The first being capital, right? Capital that's right fit for the market, meaning capital that actually addresses the needs of which market it's talking about, because not every market is mature in that way, right? A US creative, this diaspora, has different needs than a local Kenyan or Ugandan or even Nigerian. So capital is a big one that we're hearing every day. But Kenya, for example, has 28 theaters for a country that size. So if you're doing a blockbuster movie and Lupita's in it, you can only show it off at about 28 theaters across the whole country. So there's a need for infrastructure. Plus, if you're doing podcasting, or it becomes expensive as a creator to conduct your work in spaces that are limited for the spaces that you need, right? So you're now seeing a few spaces, whether they're incubators and they're building the space, whether they're accelerators and they're building that space, or even just workspaces. So you're seeing infrastructure, both digital and physical. The other, which we all know, is distribution and monetization, right? And fintechs, I think, are slowly starting to help understand and open those doors. But just the way that we distribute this information is not equitable. So that's a big piece. Also, the way that they monetize. Somebody who has YouTube and has 1 million followers on YouTube does not get paid the same if they are in Nigeria or Ghana as somebody in the US. Part of that is the next challenge: policy and regulations. What incentives exist within countries, both on the federal level across markets, but also on the local level, right? So that's a big challenge that we're seeing. And if I'm being honest, I'm happy to see governments at the table talking about this, but it needs to move not just in conversation, but it needs to move in like actual policies that are effective enforcement also, right? So that's the 4th area. And the last part is actually the technical skills. The skills exist, but they need to upskill a little bit, right? And that's where I think diaspora is really effective, is we have NBA, we have women from the WNBA, we have men from the NBA, we have sports, gaming, animation, fashion, arts. We can go there and teach, like, what are the upskill, what's the next level